told me on the radio, our frontal lobes don't develop risk assessment until we're 25. Maybe that explains why, on the approach, we all seem to be risk assessing in hindsight. Being a little paralysed, frozen in the headlights, standing on the thinnest part of the ice, wondering why we spent so... I work in a school library with a woman who reads different papers to me. Papers that shout through open doors and scarper down the science block when Mr. Peter comes. Papers that hold back the fear of the strut and the sway and the spit of the little kids and call the Polish boys puffs and rip the middle pages out of their books. Papers that admit in empty classrooms at 3:30 that they don't know when Dad's getting out, and that makes their lips and their fists shake when they look at me. And she recounts these scared stories to feigned intrigue. Like on her first day when she seemed friendly and I was pleased, having typed alone in an empty room since January. She sat down and said, "Have you heard the news?" And I waited, breath-baited, for her views on Italian elections and press reform and HIV cures and who to vote for Pope and how many people died in Iran on Monday. But all of that paled in comparison to Pippa Middleton's yellow coat and boys marrying grandmothers in somewhere not English and capital letters of arson and attack and none of it deserved, and the Queen's diarrhea and Prince Charles drinking and another one smiling and Kate Middleton's hat and she's pregnant. Did you hear that she's pregnant? And in between these fleeting tastes of the world outside, the books and the walls, she plays the lottery. She says it's her only toe dip into accountancy. It's her husband who normally deals with the money, but her luck's coming up. She can feel it, that change on the breeze. But she'd never give it to charity, though. I mean, who can you trust? You don't know what to do with it. She took over the books like conquering lands with the plastic cubes in wrist. She says there's too many. Takes them to the tip in boxes that get caught in the boot of her car. They're piled so high. And the ones that are left, well, the kids don't treat them the way she wants them to treat them. Like the girl who never wears her tie or blazer, pug-faced from indignation, told there's no time for you, go back to class. But she can't go back empty-handed, so she slaps a grab at Horrid Henry, Volume 3, but the librarian, quick to save her loot, smacks her palm down to protect it. Skin on skin, and all those Daily Mail headlines paste the walls, and I see her imprinted in every one as the girl explodes into tears and looks at me. "Miss? Question mark. Go back to class." And there are statements half-heartedly taken, and I don't lie, I just keep quiet and nothing comes of it because everyone's too terrified of anything coming of it. And World Book Day comes, with a briefcase and a suit, and he hands me his coat and tells me his coffee's too strong and instructs the kids to silence with the story of his tie. His tie's got a TARDIS on. None of the kids know what a TARDIS is because Matt Smith is out and the plot got too tough, and "Sir, when can we go? I hate books." And he's stunned, clenching his knuckles like clutching a Michael Gove report. He thinks that this kid better get used to it. Give education a year and it'll be Charge of the Light Brigade by heart, and then he'll know how life can be hard. And suddenly, all the bright lights of World Book Day fade, and a fight in the corridor pulls down a poster of Tony Robinson's face. Her expressions change so quickly. Like, she's slagging off Sita in the office for chewing too loudly, chewing too often, chewing the wrong thing, and then Sita walks in and she grins. Starts bitching about the kids, because they're always there. They laugh too much, fart too much, look at her too much, like they want something. Why do they always want something? What do they want? And I only work part-time, so I only hear half of this. It's the kids who get the full show. At lunch, she tells me how her diet is better than mine. I say I'm not on one. She doesn't care, because hers is about only eating lettuce, only eating things that are yellow, only eating on days that begin with an S and a T, and never eating when she's always eating. And Jess, have you noticed I'll see her in the office is always eating? And she'll try anything to keep the kids out. Heard them back down the English block. She stands at the door dictating faces that can pass and a promise that they sit in silence, speak when spoken to, not make themselves noticeable, and don't touch the books. If you want one, you take it. Don't peruse, don't fiddle, don't read the blurb, decide it's not for you, then replace it back on the wrong shelf. Don't bring it back torn or folded or wet or enjoyed or crinkled or thumbed or carried in a rucksack for a week to find any opportunity just to love it in a stairwell or under a desk. And if they do, they get a letter home, a ransom note. It's her favourite part of the day. Rattling off addresses, announcing how unsurprised she is that Megan brought back Tracy Beaker 2 days late, being from that corner of the estate. And then Megan's banned for 2 weeks, and when she protests, it becomes a month. And a stamp of her foot and a bitch under her breath gets her a life sentence. And this is Megan, who loves books. She's got an imagination you can drown in, and now she just hangs around outside, sticking her chewing gum in the windows of the canteen. She glares at me. One day, The deputy head gets me in and tells me it's my job to get them in between the pages picking up books. She gives me a job title with the word champion in it and targets to meet by Christmas. And I'm walking back along the 4th period corridor through the double doors. She is in between 2 piles. The shelves are bare. One pile's near toppling, reaching the panelled ceiling. The other one's barely up to her knees. "What are you doing?" I say. And she's up like I'm going to tell on her. "Do you know how much filth is in this room?" she says. She's picking up titles from the highest pile, throwing them in the bin with the juice packets and the apple cores, listing their faults like it's my fault. The Kite Runner, rape and buggery. Adrian Mole, masturbation. Jane Eyre, woman kept hostage against her will. White Teeth, cult religion. Beauty, bestiality. Time traveller's wife, sex with a minor. Macbeth, too violent. Regeneration, too gay. Great Gatsby, too much drinking. D.H. Lawrence, don't get me started. It's all over the headline, she says. Kids aren't safe on streets and in schools, and these books are like bombs, turning teenagers into weapons, filling their heads with dirt and desire, and I will not sit back and watch this country go to rot. Thank you. You never really know a man till he stands in his shoes and walk around in them. There is a dog that barks in the yard of the terrace at the back of mine. I love dogs. I picked a staffy up in the traffic once and put them in the back of my car, but this one sounds pent up fierce and pissed off to the rain clouds, and every night that I pass his gate before bin day he throws himself at the panels and I nearly trip up in the alleyway. But this morning I was stood brushing my teeth, stood balanced between the windowsill and the sink looking out, and there was a pre-commute quiet in the houses. Then this man came out into the yard to the terrace at the back of mine with a wooden spoon in his hand and beat that dog till he bled in the cobbles. Scout stood on the porch of Boo's house and saw everything with new sights. Slipped the shadows of his shoes on her feet and watched the seasons change from the view of someone who rarely feels the rain. Comes in quoting the rudest Austin Powers lines, all bullshit and backchat, yes, your mum says. And then he gets the chessboard out, acts like it's nothing, but then nags me to play against his first move. Outside, he hides this away. He saves it for me because he knows it's okay, and I won't let the other boys know he's here. Boo saw the summer. He watched his children's hearts break, autumn again, and Boo's children needed him. And some days I look back at everything my sister is juggling without sweating, and I'm relieved nobody needs me. Visitor's badge and coffee and not quite a teacher, and like always the kids divided themselves into the ones that wanted to and the ones that didn't. Then the loudest subdivided the ones below them into bullies and shadows, sly ones and hangers on, and the ones who stare too long and tell you they like your shoes. Thank you, Dylan. What was left on that Monday morning was a boy holding his own place on the floor, smiling and squinting in his dad's glasses and his arm in a sling, and the woman who did all of his writing for him. And he worked away, happy and unaware and separate, and in the last 10 minutes it came to his turn to read out, and the rest of the class began to laugh before he even started, and then he opened his mouth and said, "This one's called Home." Who's standing on a porch watching him? Because Atticus said, courage is not a man with a gun in his hands. It's my dad holding back a cough because he's scared that even after 25 years in nursing, he can't see inside what might be wrong. It's my mum, home and tired because the days are hard and too long, and we tell her it's just go, tighten in the knot. She says it's not, it's her, the kids are getting louder and she can never make the computers work. It's how he can't keep secrets in December because Christmas is many empty chairs, lots of surprises for him. It's how we don't speak about the time she chose them over me and the space across the playground felt like a chasm. It's the ex-offender across the table saying we just all want to move on. It's after 5 years of heavy fire, she rings with news and we call her truce and now I just want that time back. It's when he wouldn't shake Dave's hand. It's the shadow in the morning when we pretend that we were so drunk last night that we just don't remember. It's how he can tell from the twist of my eyes that the alarm on my pillow whether I've woken up with spirals in my head again. It's Mrs. Flower's face when I stuck up 2 fingers in a list of A's and stars. It's when Grandma was alive and we only visited once a year. It's standing in the vet smoke with my eyes tight shut and my arms around her neck. It's the day he told me he had a wife. It's my first boyfriend breaking my heart on a dance floor, and when the world is full to bursting with things that aren't what they seem, I think it's okay to be boo. To hide inside somewhere dark and comfortable and leave a little stamp on the places you go now and then, because all of my stories come from standing in other people's shoes for a moment or a morning and seeing other people do the same.